Welcome in, Browns fans. It's another Combine episode of the Browns Roundtable podcast. Spencer German, Anthony Moeglin with you. Meg's on the home front. I'm still in Indy. If you can't, I have a random, very uh,
You're
sad
you're
wall.
fighting, bro. I didn't realize pre-show you are. How sick are you?
Oh, I'm not sick. I just lost my voice.
You got a scratchy voice.
Been
Guys,
doing
too
much podcasting, staying out too late. So a whole combination of things.
Yeah.
I know you can't tell I'm in Indy because I have a very just plain wall behind me, but I am still in Indy, heading home on Friday. But plenty to still talk about. I think, yesterday, Megs, we spent more time focused on like the practical, what did Todd Monken say? What does it mean for the Browns? What did Andrew Berry say? What does it mean for the Browns? Today, though, I think it's fair to start maybe getting in more to like the prospects, future players, what we think the Browns' plans are in terms of addressing certain needs and positions. And we're going to start pretty hot here because there was some news on Thursday in relation to a quarterback that I think the Browns are going to actually be interested in. Real quick, though, I do want to remind you to make sure you head on over to the website, use the QR code to the left of Meg's left, your right if you're watching this.
Hey, we got this down, baby. We got this down. I need all the help I can
get. And you can jump right over to the website from there. You can join our community space, be part of the conversation, and also make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, Browns Roundtable on YouTube, if you haven't done so already as well. Megs, the news came down on Thursday that the Colts are giving Anthony Richardson permission to seek a trade. And I know the initial reaction is going to be Anthony Richardson is a bust. I don't want him, all these different things. And I'm not even saying that like he's like a great option or somebody that I think the Browns should go after. I'm kind of out on Anthony Richardson. Injury history is bad. There's issues with reading the defense, going through his progressions. We've seen those things in real time. He has been kind of a failed experiment. So the traits are off the charts, but those things we have a pretty decent sample size at this point to know I just don't think he's going to be a very good NFL quarterback. But listen, the Browns are in a weird quarterback situation. And if we're going to sit there and talk about those traits that I mentioned with Malik Willis, strong arm, athleticism, does some of the things Lamar does. He's maybe just not Lamar Jackson. The same applies to Anthony Richardson. He has the traits that Tom Monken's probably looking for in a quarterback. Yeah. And so I think there's at least going to be some interest there. And I would expect the Browns to probably be one of the teams that's reaching out and making some phone calls on potentially acquiring him and adding another quarterback to this room to potentially compete for the job.
Yeah, that's a slippery slope in my opinion, just because I don't know. I don't know how many – we have two projects already. I don't know. And not to say that Malik Willis is a surefire thing, but, if you're going to go and try to trade for somebody and you make the move for Anthony Richardson, how much different of a spot are you in than we were last year? You're in 2025. You're running a 3-person, a 4-person quarterback competition, and pretty much everyone was like, we can't do that again. The receivers were like, we can't do that again. The offensive line, you get these guys in here who are hardly getting any reps, and it showed out when the season started. You go get a guy like Anthony Richardson, and you're saying, hey, you're going to go compete with Deshaun, and you're going to go compete with Shador. Okay, we're in the same spot we were in last year with 3 guys you don't know anything about and that are all super big question marks. For me, if I was in the position, I would go hard pass on it. Even if the Colts were like, hey, 7th round pick for Anthony Richardson, I'd be like, we can't do that. Because even for him too, like he needs to go to a stable place, a stable roster, a roster that has to lift him up, because if he fails again, you're not getting a third chance. You're not getting a third chance at this thing. So he's got to go to the right spot. If I were the Browns, I would maybe make one phone call and then just to do your due diligence and then cross it off. But that's kind of where I'm sitting at it.
Listen, I get anybody who is out on Anthony Richardson. Like I said, I don't necessarily think he's a player that I'd want starting for my team either. I don't think it's that bad of a situation though if you were to bring him in. Like it fits where the Browns are at, is what I'm trying to say. Like last year of his rookie deal, you have the option if you want to pick it up. I would assume some team that grabs him probably wouldn't pick it up. So you're only paying him, I think it's like $10 million next year. So financially, it's not a big cap hit. it's basically just like a tryout, right, for a year. Like, hey, let's see if there's anything salvageable, or if we think we can be the team that turns him into the next Sam Darnold story, where he goes
Yep.
on to kind of revive early woes of his career. So my frame of my perspective on this is: do I want Anthony Richardson? Do I think Anthony Richardson is a great quarterback? No, not at all. And I worry about the injuries and all the other things that we talked about. But on the flip side of that, for where the Browns are at, I would understand why that would be somebody that they'd be interested in. I'd
Yeah.
understand like the raw potential that he brings to the table. And we do see guys go somewhere else and have more success. So I can understand.
Mhm.
Like what I would say, I guess, is like, it's not like this isn't a situation for me where it's like the Browns come out looking stupid or something at the end of it. If it doesn't work, okay, you were trying to kind of bridge that gap anyway to get to 2027, most likely. You just did it with Anthony Richardson and it failed. Okay, no one's really the wiser. You just kind of keep
Yeah.
moving.
That's a good point. That's a really good point, because the flip side, the reward way outweighs the risk, especially if it is a low round pick. They ask for a 5th rounder or 6th round or something, whatever the ask is. They start asking for 3rd rounders. I'm way out on that, and I don't think that they would. Right? And I don't think that's not the reality.
He's a day 3. He's going to be worth
totally,
a day 3 pick.
Totally.
Sure.
So and it's like, all right, if that's the price tag, maybe, but for me, it's just like, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. I would rather, there's a question you'd have to ask, like, how much different is he than Shedeur Sanders? Like, how much different is the actual talent level? Yes, he was drafted in the 1st round. Shedeur was drafted in the 5th round. But if you're getting 2 guys that are, equal, or kind of looking at them as similar type talents, just go with one and give one guy a legit chance. That's just the way I view it. It's not right or wrong, but that's how I would approach it.
Yeah, I get that perspective, and I understand where like some people probably agree with you and don't want to touch Anthony Richardson with a 10-foot pole. But I'm telling you, don't be surprised if you see the reports that the Browns are one of the teams calling about Anthony Richardson. Because to me, it feels like plan A is, hey, we're going to get an offer in front of Malik Willis and see how he feels. Maybe they don't want to go bid high for him, but I think they're going to at least get an offer in front of him. Mm-hmm. I think plan B might end up being, let's go see if we can what we can get for Anthony Richardson, and maybe that's our option. Yeah. And then I think plan C becomes like a different veteran that's out there in the market. Maybe you draft a guy, but I just don't necessarily think that fits with like the current quarterback. So it's an interesting thing. But
do you?
I'm not going to be surprised if they pursue Anthony Richardson.
Here's
they probably will pursue Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, here's what I kind of find fascinating is like this news broke, and I think Zach Jackson broke it today. If memory serves me. I don't know what's smokescreen and what's not from Andrew Berry, because I do think, whether you like him or not, whether you think he does good work or not, they are pretty tight-lipped with these things. And there's always, when these types of stories start to get out, there's always intention behind them, right? They're not just accidentally going to float stuff to the media to try to stir up some stuff. So I don't know. I tend to take it a little bit with the grain of salt, but also too, like, I get excited about the thought process of, hey, bringing in Malik Willis, because then I think you actually there's some hope there. Yes, he's only played 6 games, but he's played pretty well. He's only played a handful of games, but he's played pretty well. He's shown that he can win, and he gives you a little bit of hope for this team. I just don't see it from Richardson. So yeah, we'll see how it shakes. But this is when that stuff gets done. Like, this is the best part about the combine, when stories like this start to hit the surface.
We'll certainly keep an eye on that one, and there'll be plenty more to talk about it, I'm sure. We need to get into a debate that I've had other places, and I know we've talked about off the air, but is worth getting into, because Caleb Downs spoke today at the combine. If you want to watch what he had to say, I did post his press conference at our YouTube channel, Browns Roundtable YouTube. You can find it there, hear what he had to say, hear his commentary on a number of different things. I actually thought it was kind of interesting. He talked about, like, safeties are a devalued position right now, I think, in the NFL. But he kind of talked about how guys like Nick Eamon are bringing it back, and his versatility as a guy that can play in the slot or deep or whatever is something that makes him valuable and can change the game for safeties, and they can be game-changing players again. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But obviously there's been plenty of talk, especially in Ohio, about the idea of, if Caleb Downs is there at 6 and plenty of people consider him their best player available at that time or whatever, do you just take Caleb Downs and, forget about the needs and get the best player available and call it a day? I think we both kind of agree on this, but it's an interesting comment. And here's the thing: it might not only be Caleb Downs for what it's worth. It could be Arvell Reese who falls. It could be Ruben Bain who falls. So maybe it could be David Bailey. I think David Bailey just ran like a 4.5, so everyone's going to be like all over him now. But like there's somebody's going to be there at 6 that people will speculate is, oh, this is the best player available. And there's a lot of defensive guys that could be going early in the draft. So it's like, how does that add up? What does that look like? Do you just pull the trigger on best player available, which is the strategy that teams usually deploy? But we know for the Browns, you don't really have a lot of needs on defense right now. No. And there's such a vast chasm between what you're lacking on offense and what you have on defense. I think there's a lot of people who are leaning, no, you got to draft for need here.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough to go and to draft for need. I was talking about this on a different podcast on our network just yesterday, and you look at I would say you could, maybe it was ours, I don't know, but you look at kind of this draft, and there's teams that can draft the best player available, and I don't think the Browns are one of them. If the Browns go and draft Caleb Downs, yes, he's a spectacular player. He does not fit anything that you need right now. I think he's going to have a great career. He's going to make some franchise very happy. But if the Browns do that, and we're sitting there in September and they're losing a game 31-6, and he's got 10 tackles, and you're like, all right, we can't score points just like we did last year, and we left whatever off the board. We still don't have a tackle, or we still don't have a weapon. I think that would be a colossal mistake. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's certainly a contingent of people out there who think that, hey, stockpile all the talent. You can never go wrong with talent. I think that's fine, but you have to scope it a little bit. You can't just be like, oh, this dude's awesome, we're going to draft him. You have specific needs, and you got to address those needs with guys who are that are affordable, especially at this stage. And you can get some really, really good top level talent at this position, or be strategic about solving a lot of needs, because there's guys like Caleb Downs or Sonny Styles still available when you're picking. I think it would be a colossal mistake if they were to go that route and take the best player available, and whether that be Arvell Reese or Caleb Downs at number 6.
Yeah, listen, I'm never going to fault the team for deploying the best player available strategy, because it is the way you build a football team, right? Like that good teams take best player available and they say, we're gonna make it work with this guy because he's too talented not to. So it's not that I would think the Browns are like being stupid for doing that, but I just think this is such a abnormal year for them, where again, the needs they have on offense are so vast that I don't know how you can just ignore that and say, we're going to take a defensive guy to help a defense that already is loaded at a number of spots and is already pretty set at a number of spots.
Yeah.
I think Caleb Downs is going to be really good too.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know I think Arvell Reese is going to be really good. This just feels like a year where, and the question I keep going back to is like, if you're not going to, if not now, when it comes to using premium picks on offensive players, like you have 2 first-rounders that you can really use to help start getting this offense going in the right direction in terms of youth movement and building it up. If you're not going to use them now, when are you going to start using first-round picks on offensive talent? So to me, this is why trading back from 6 feels like it is the best outcome. And listen, the Browns board could be different than what we're sort of projecting here. They could have Francis Maui-Noah as like their 4th best player, and then he could be there at 6 and be like, we're taking Francis Maui-Noah. I don't know. But in like the frame, in the reference of like what some of the experts out there and some of these guys that do like big boards that we all respect, the Daniel Jeremiah's, who am I forgetting? Whatever. Like any of those guys, like
the Mees. You didn't see my mock draft report?
I was thinking of Dane Brugler.
You didn't see my mock draft? You didn't? I'm not on the list.
The Anthony Meggs big board. No, like in understanding like how their big boards are kind of set up, and that they think like teams think.
Yeah.
there's going to be some defensive players that are available after Fernando Mendoza that could be on the board when the Browns are there. And so I just feel like it all adds up to me like a better situation to trade back, or makes it feel more like a better idea to trade back.
Yeah.
Granted, you got to have a trade partner. You got to have somebody who wants to come up for Caleb Downs or Arvell Reese or whatever. Yeah. And again, safety is a tough position for anybody to come up for. There's not a lot of teams that are going to trade up for a safety. Like if it's Arvell Reese, maybe it's a different story, because some team might be like, that guy's a freak, I want him as my defensive end, and they might be more inclined to. Other teams, I don't know if a lot of teams are going to come calling about a safety. So it's a hard spot to be in. But to me, it just feels like all this points to the Browns to trade back.
Yeah, it would be that to me. I would come into the draft, kind of like draft day, where it is, I'm writing Carnell Tate down, and if you can get Carnell Tate, you take Carnell Tate, and if you can't, you find a trade partner to go back with, because you can address so many needs. Whether it's you get a second first round pick this year, when you're looking at maybe the Dallas Cowboys, where they'll give you, their pick number 12 and pick number 20 from the Packers, or, they give you 12 and a second rounder or something along those lines. And you get that, and you can acquire just so much more talent. I think for me, the Browns have so many needs on that side of the ball. You can't just keep trading back to oblivion. I do think you got to be smart about it. And I think like the Cowboys are the team that stands out to me, because if you can get them, you get on the phone with Jerry and you can convince him to get in front of the Washington Redskins or the Commanders, who are right after the Browns, then they can go get a premium pick, premium talent, and steal one from Washington. And that, to me, you circle that one, you're like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That could be a legitimate partner for you. And with the Bengals lurking there at 10, and the Chiefs lurking there at 9, you can really, I'm calling all the NFC teams and being like, which one of you guys wants to come up and steal one of these really great players from potentially getting down to what we want to view as one of our rivals, in the AFC. So I think there's a lot of positives to that, and it solves a lot of issues. I would be shocked beyond belief if they go defense and they take Caleb Downs or whomever on that defensive side of the ball, because frankly, I just don't think this team needs it, man. You got to start scoring points at some point.
We know what the needs are, obviously. Offensive line, wide receiver. I guess starting with the offensive line, makes, who is the guy that you like the most? And are you opposed to, by the way, a strategy that would see the Browns use both their first rounders, or if they trade back, use multiple first rounders on offensive line and then worrying about receiver later?
No, I mean, I think that you look at that. We were talking about this last night while we were recording our show, and it was like, all right, what if you did get 2 offensive linemen in the first round, right? You have a can't miss guy, you have a can't miss wide receiver, and you're like, yes, I need that guy. And if he's available, you take him, and if not, you jump back and you're like, all right, give me one of these stud tackles. I think there's a bunch of good ones. Obviously, the easy ones, Proctor and Fano, from Bama and Utah. Those guys are the top ones at the draft. And like, you're like, all right, you can take one of those guys, and you just hope you're getting the Tristan Wirfs type. Like, I just remember going back and like what Browns fans would do to pick Tristan Wirfs over Jedrick Wills. Like, Browns fans would do anything to go back and do that. And it's not the sexy pick. It's oftentimes the hard pick to make. But when you do that and you get a good one, that they stick around for a really long time, and they become the Joe Thomas, the guy that is a staple for a long time. I would love it if they did go tackle. It's just fine. Sign me up. It's a need. You need to address it, and it'd be a good start to do so.
Well, obviously what they would do if they were to take 2 offensive linemen, will take better shape once we know how they handle free agency. Once we know if Joe Bitonio is coming back, right? Like, those things are going to factor in.
How do you say Mauga's name? The cat from Miami, Francis.
I think it's Maui Noah.
Maui Noah.
I think that's what it is.
We drop an N in there. All right.
I think I've been saying Maui Noah, so if I'm wrong, somebody can correct me. But no, Maui Noah is, so the thing that's interesting about the offensive line class, and this is another reason why I'm like open to using both picks on it, is that it's a kind of a top heavy group. Like, you have Maui Noah, you have Fanu, you have Or no, it is Fano. I'm thinking the
Fano
other
and
guy.
then Lomu.
Lomu is the other guy. And then you have like Freeling. Daniel Jeremiah has said that Freeling isn't that far off from Fano and Maui Noah in terms of like how teams grade him. But then you also have Ioane from Penn State, who Daniel Jeremiah says is the best offensive lineman in the entire class, but you just don't take guards at you
Yeah.
don't take guards at in the top 10. So like if my thing is and the offensive line is so important. And you heard even Tom Munkin say the offense starts with the offensive line.
Mhm.
Him acknowledging that, him saying that, like that tells me they're going to make that a high priority thing. And like, I think it makes a lot of sense. And here's what I was trying to say with like all those guys. Maui Noah, it sounds like people think he might have to move inside to be a guard.
Yeah.
Do you want to take him at 6 if that's the case? So I'm honestly like the idea of, again, I'm falling in love with trading back over and over and over again, because if you trade back, maybe now you can take Ioane maybe a little bit earlier than other teams would, but he's arguably the best offensive lineman in the entire class. You get a guard spot taken care of, and then you can circle back and maybe get Freeling in the 20s, and then you get a guard and a tackle. So I'm starting to like romanticize the idea of take 2 offensive linemen. Again, you're right. It's not the sexy thing. People want a wide receiver because it's also a big need. But we know how football works.
Yeah.
You build through the trenches. You do it the right way. How many years have we talked about the Steelers taking offensive linemen in the first round? And we're like, that's such a Steelers pick. Like, it's how the good teams do it. So I think fans need to open their mind to the idea of that being a possibility. I really do.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And I think the opposite or the other side of that coin is true too, right? If they do go weapon and and Tate falls there or whomever, right? And they think Tyson's that good, they pick him at 6. Fine. You go wide receiver, and then you get one of those guys at the end of the first round, all right, like, okay, you get a receiver and you get a tackle. And I think that fans can be excited about that too. That's the really nice part about having 2 in the first round. I'm not preaching. I'm preaching to the choir. I'm not breaking news here, but the Browns can really get 2 players in this draft that flip this thing around. If they hit on them, man, oh man, they could really turn this thing around and turn it around really quickly.
Let's talk about the receivers for a second. The receivers actually do speak on Friday, so I'm going to try to get some of that content for us here at the site, get that up on the YouTube channel. Carnell Tate talks, Jordan Tyson talks. I think they're at the same time, so that's unfortunate. But there's a couple other guys I think are worth getting as well. I'm going to tell you, like, and again, going back to the tackle class or the offensive line class not being quite as deep, the wide receiver class is considered very deep. So that's another reason why, like, if you wait, you might still be able to get a guy round 2, or maybe trade back into the first round to get a guy, whatever. There's options there. But like, I'll say this, I like Jordan Tyson best overall, but I have concerns because he's not even working out at the combine. So how serious are these injuries? How serious is like I think it's a calf for him or a hamstring, whatever. I think it's a hamstring. Like, if you can't even work out the combine, the Browns need to draft somebody that they can feel like isn't starting from behind the 8 ball when it comes to an injury. But I like Tate. I really like Mekhi Lemon as like a slot guy for the Browns in the NFL. And I'll tell you this, like, the name that's really gaining traction here in Indy is Omar Cooper Jr. out of Indiana. Teams love him. And he's another guy that operates primarily out of the slot. At least that's what he did at Indiana. But his skill set is fantastic. I think people will see him as like a guy that can do so many different things out of that slot spot. And I think that slot wide receiver spot with what JSN's been able to do is becoming such a prominent part of the NFL, and teams are sort of looking for those guys more. I like Omar Cooper a lot. I think he's easily in my top. He's probably next in line for me after Mekhi Lemon. I do also like Denzel Boston, but I think my top 4 probably is Tyson, Tate, Mekhi Lemon, and Cooper Jr.
It's funny. It's like there's 2. You talk about different positions. You talk about guards and tackles. It's almost like they're starting to split the receivers into outside guys and inside guys, because I do think that there's those 3 outside guys that are legit outside guys. It's Carnell, it's Tyson, and it's Denzel Boston. Both of them, all 3 of those guys stand over 6'3". They're your outside guys. They can all run out of the slot. I'm not saying that, but they're more so your outside guys. Go get the big balls and go whatever. And then the other 3 you mentioned, Lemon, Casey Concepcion from Texas A&M. that guy can play ball, and he may be available later, right? If you get into the second round and he's available later, and you go 2 wide receivers and along with the tackle, you get one of these top guys and then a slot guy with the tackle, you're feeling really good about that one. But then Cooper is more so that slot guy. But you're right. Everyone is now, after what JSN did last year, everyone is now going to be looking to find the next JSN. Who is that next guy going to be? There may be 3 of them here. Mekhi Lemon is the guy that stands out, that like his literal draft comp is JSN. He's same height. He runs similar routes. Like, he's just so elite with his feet. He's got great hands. He's got all that stuff. And you're like, all right, well, it worked for the Seahawks, right? It worked for the Seahawks. So if that's the route they want to take, I would prefer, as I've said it 10 times now, it's Carnell Tate for me. I think that he is an elite talent. Comes from obviously Ohio State, wide receiver U in many cases. And he's just like every single one of those guys who have come out of Ohio State have proven that, hey, maybe if they're not the best, maybe if it's like a Chris Olave, he's not the best, he's going to be reliable week after week after week. There's no such thing as a bust. I'm going to say this, knock on wood. There's no such thing as a bust that comes out of Ohio State. They're all at least good. And obviously you can get some great ones in there mixed in. Talk about JSN and some of the others.
Was Ted Ginn a bust?
Maybe I should when I say that again, on future shows, I should really clarify it. This last era, this Brian Hartline era of receiver is like, it's Garrett Wilson. I'm not going to call him elite, but he's not bad. That's a good player. Chris Olave, a really good player. JSN, obviously one of the best. There you go. We're going to learn more about Marvin. You got those tired eyes, man. You got those tired eyes. But
the shadows, awful.
Marvin Harrison, obviously, still the jury's still out on him. But
if there's a bust, maybe he's going to be the bust. We'll see. I think it'll be okay, but he could be the one that would turn into one. Listen, I honestly, like, if you drafted any of those guys, I think it's fair. I think nobody should be mad about that. I like Tate, like you said too. I'm okay on Casey Concepcion, but I've started to really like Omar Cooper Jr. better. I probably like Denzel Boston a little bit more than I like Casey Concepcion. But I do think there's a world where, like, you can maybe get away with waiting on a wide receiver and still get one in the second round. I did a mock draft recently for the site where I did offensive lineman, got Omar Cooper Jr. in the second round. I don't think that's going to happen anymore because I think he's going to go in the first round. So, but yeah, is there anyone else, Megs, before we get out of here, that you kind of consider like a draft crush for you, like a guy that you really love that maybe no one's talking about? It's okay if you don't have one.
The one guy that caught my attention. If you're a fan of the Roundtable Network, you know that we cover a lot of different teams. Spence and I float around on several different sites. I was floating around on the Giants site the other day, and a name that popped up over and over was Jeremiah Love. And that's a guy, running back from Notre Dame, who maybe Jahmyr Gibbs is kind of the
love Love?
I love Love. I love Love. And maybe Jahmyr Gibbs is the comp there. He's got that elite burst. He's got that elite quickness. He's just good with the ball in his hands. This feels like to me that he has a Kansas City Chief, like, through and through. Like, I don't think the Giants get him, but I think Patrick Mahomes gets another, like, freaking Swiss Army knife at 9, and then they go. He's one of my favorites, specifically with the ball in his hands.
I like that one. This is a gimme one, but Tyron Montgomery from JCU, easy one right there.
I was going to say it, but I didn't want to pander. I didn't want to pander to the crowd.
It's okay.
Come on, Ty.
It's okay to pander sometimes. I mean, I think the Browns are probably going to double up on wide receiver. Like, not like take him early necessarily, but like they'll take another one at some point, right? And he's going to be like a day 3 guy. But I would love to see Tyron Montgomery like stay in Cleveland and go to the Browns. That'd be cool. I'll give you another one though.
He can live in my basement. I got a room ready.
There you go.
There you go. It's right 15 minutes from the facility. Let's go, baby.
The other one I'll give you is another guy's going to be a day 3 guy. Riley Nowakowski out of Indiana.
Okay.
He might go undrafted. Like, he might not even get drafted, but he was the tight end of Indiana. But man, Kurt Signetti used him as like a fullback, an extra blocker, a tight end. Like, he did everything with him. And when I hear Tom Monken talk about playing to player's strengths and finding ways to score points however necessary, he just fits and screams like he could do almost anything for Todd Monken's offense. So I really like him as well.
There's a guy again. This didn't come from my brain. This came from our Bills podcast that I tend to frequent on. There's a guy out of Buffalo. He played for the Bulls. Okay, his name's Red Murdoch. He plays linebacker. I think he's 6'1", 250 pounds. He's built like a fist, and he just bullies people. He had over 160 tackles last year. He just gets there, and he looks a little bit different. He looks a little bit different when he's on a MAC field compared to everywhere else. But he may become. I didn't know about him, but he may be becoming a favorite of mine.
I also like Max Ihanachor, who's the tackle out of Arizona State. I think he's another guy, like if the Browns don't go double up on offensive linemen on day one, I think he's like a day 2 pick, second round, maybe third. I don't think he slips to the third round, but like he's probably a second round guy. Still a lot of rawness in his game, but I think like the tools are there, and I'd be kind of interested in him. So those are just a few other guys that I kind of have my eye on, guys that I'll be paying attention to throughout the rest of the combine week. But anyway, we appreciate you hanging out with us. Plenty more of conversations like this to come, because the combine is just the beginning of a lot of these things kind of transpiring and coming to fruition, and deals getting done, players getting signed. We know that free agency opens up in a little under now 2 weeks. And the first domino that's really going to fall for the Browns is Joel Bitonio. We'll kind of go from there. So we'll have you covered, as always, over at brownsroundtable.com. If you don't want to type it in, you can just use the QR code over by Meg's head, and you can scan that, go to the link, go right to the site, join our community space, all that fun stuff. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel if you're not subscribed already. Make sure that you stay locked in over there, because we got press conferences. I'm going to, again, like I said, get some of the wide receivers at the combine on Friday and get those up. So you're going to want to stay locked in, stay tuned in to some of the players the Browns could honestly be interested in. We got you covered, as always. Make sure you stay up to date and in tune with all things Cleveland Browns with brownsroundtable.com.